Good evening, everyone. Over 80 years ago, South Africa was in need of a change in the racing scene. Whilst the local governments had always held dirt races along short tracks, a purpose-built circuit was necessary following the success of Prince Bira in the late 50s and early 60s of Formula One, including drivers such as John Love. And Kyalami was the resulting circuit that was established and developed. And over the years, it has become one of the most internationally recognised endurance race circuits on the planet. And tonight, the drivers are racing around here for round 2 of season 11 here with ACC Race Nation. I'm Jack TM53. I'm delighted to be back commentating on this wonderful championship. Hello to everyone who is watching live on the stream. It's fantastic to have you with us. And like I say, we are on round number 2. The drivers had a fantastic race last week. We'll talk more about the results of that event in a few moments' time, but we are live in qualifying at the moment. We're following one of the debutants for the season, Mark Gray, in the 81 Ford Mustang GT3. Been following him for a few laps. For those that have watched before previously, you'll know that whenever I try to change camera for any car, whatever reason ACC decides to have, it will flick not to the person who, well, if we look right now, Mark Gray's in 5th place. You'd think my next camera would go to 6th. It doesn't. Instead, it goes to Hartle Toby, the number 208, who's in 2nd place in his Mustang GT. So, looking forward to reacquainting myself with that once again. But it's really fabulous to be back, and the drivers, 5 minutes have gone by in this qualifying session. If you're new or returning to the channel watching this, just to make you aware of the GT3 regulations. So, just so everybody is fully in the loop, we have a 60-minute practice session which the drivers have been doing. We have started a little bit later this evening, thanks to an issue in the server. So we're 20 minutes behind, but that's not a disaster, as Hartlett Toby nearly has a disaster going out of turn number 13 there. He's got away with that one in the Mustang. Following the practice, we've got the 20-minute qualifying session that we're in right now, and a 60-minute race ahead of us. That's what we have. There will be some 2-hour races. There are 3 of them this season at the Red Bull Ring, Spa and the Nordschleife. Last week we were at Silverstone. We had a lot of action going on there, and the drivers are just starting to settle into their rhythm. We've got 23 drivers in for this evening, and one final little just bit of information regarding the regulations for the championship. The top 3 finishes at every single round will have success ballast applied. So last week, nobody had any success ballast because, of course, it was the first round of the season. Tonight, though, that is not the case. What we have is that we've got Jeffrey Van Buren, who won last week. He will carry 30 kilos of success ballast. Tony Sokolov was second. He will carry the next kilo down, which effectively is 20 kilos. And then Hartle Toby, he will carry 15. So it's a little bit of a bumpy ride for the Mustang, carrying a little bit more weight than usual. But he is carrying 15 kilograms of success ballast around Kyalami, which is a circuit that perhaps doesn't punish too much for the ballast compared to other race circuits. But we will see. And comments just coming in from Steve Hall. Steve, good to see you. It's unfortunate you're not racing tonight. One of your favourite tracks. For those that don't know, Steve Hall, the Season 8 champion, of course, of ACC Race Nation. And he finished, let's not forget, in the top 3 in Season 10 last time out as well. So Steve was on some form last time around, but sadly not racing with us tonight. There's Ross Harris. Can I just make a point here, ladies and gentlemen? This is the first time I've seen him drive anything other than a Lamborghini Huracan. Delighted to see him still in the 244, but he's transferred over to what is a bluish purple hint Porsche 992. We've got, of course, as well, another season debutant. We've got Phoenix Night Train. Quite literally what his name is on the screen is also his registered name within the sim grid. So the number 21 in a Monaco flag-esque Porsche with a tinge of pink going on there. We also have number 167, for those that don't know, it's another debutant. It's Fabio Matt in, what is it, a striking Pink Panther Ferrari 296 GT3. There's our reigning champion, and I've got to say I'm a big fan of that livery. He's changed from the Dayglow yellow Ferrari. He's got a zip going on a bit like the BAR of 1999 in Formula 1. Danny Zoutenbayer, back the reigning champion, number 101. He's currently 12th in the qualifying standings. Tony Sokolov, number 100, he's back. He was very quick in season 9, was Tony Sokolov. He was 3rd in the championship, rattled in the victories. He's one to watch this season. If he can put a full campaign together, he is certainly a driver who could win a championship. Dennis Penders, matter of consistency was Dennis Penders, the Belgian last season, 2nd in season 10, the 103 Ferrari, running that same livery, that Belgian flag kind of interspersed within the 296 Ferrari. Jeffrey Van Buren, as I said, last week's race winner, got his first race win with the series last season. He got another one last week, so he's carrying 30 kilos. That might affect his chances tonight, but he's in the top 6, so good qualifying so far. We're just coming up to halfway distance. Davy Zoutenbayer running the Nissan GTR, one of the only drivers in the field to be running the GTR is Davy, but brother of Danny, he's just slotted himself into 9th place as we cross the start-finish line. He'll be going on to a 5th lap to see how he gets on. We've got Jacob Byford-Rue in a very dazzling, everyone seems to be going with a hint of purple and pink in this championship, but he's got a bit of aquamarine blue going on. So Byford-Rue spent most of his time last season driving a lawnmower. This time he's in an M4 GT3. He's 16th right now, which is actually a really good qualifying so far from him. So that's positive. Nice to see him making progress. And a brand new number on the side of the M4, and it could have been a new side door for his car then if he'd have slid off the road, but he keeps it on track and then goes back to his lawnmowering. He's swapped the lawnmower background, guys. We'll leave him alone. John Wells, he's in the M4 too, not the 2nd iteration of the M4. I'm being mean about Jacob Byford-Rue, to be fair. He was very quick last season at times. He had a cracking overtake, actually, did Byford-Rue on Danny Felix. It was the last lap at the last corner at, I want to say it was Mazzano. But Byford-Rue in the 467, in the M4. Good to see him back. The real lawnmower from last season was, of course, Joe Warner. And he's out on circuit in the number 75. He's in the M4 this time around. He was in the McLaren. Oh, he's just made contact with Tony Sokolov. Not ideal for Mr. Warner, but I'm sure the Croatian will have something to say about that. But he carries on, and hopefully for Joe, he'll be able to crack on with this championship. He's 19th at the minute. Best lap time of a 46.4, so he's closed the gap. He had a little last season. He had quite a bit of a gap to the field, did Joe at times, but that looks a lot closer to Byford-Rue and co, a little bit further in front of him. So good to see him right in the thick of the action, literally in qualifying so far. Stuart Packham's back, and he's in a Bentley. He's going to have a good time in the 108. It's a nice livery, that, actually, that he's running. I know that's one of the official liveries, but it's a really, really nice one that he's got with the 108. Mark Chapman, Chappers. I feel like Chappers is the driver who deserves a championship. He's quick enough to win one, but he's either missed a round or something over the seasons. But he's back in his AMR V8 and running the same livery, the 111. Tony Manley, the other Italian in the field alongside Fabio Matt. He's back, but he's not running an aquamarine blue car. He's got a gun grey, I would call it, with a flash of green alongside it. But he's still running his 318. We also have a season debutant, the number 87, which is Nick Lamming in the McLaren 720S. He's gone with a very, very bright green and yellow McLaren livery there. Simon Whiting, another driver who kind of falls into the same category of Mark Chapman. He deserves a title. Can he do it this time around in the number 19 McLaren? Back to our debutants for the season ahead. We've got Liam Watkinson. He's also running the McLaren 720S Evolution, I should say. And he's running a similar livery to a few other McLaren drivers, but he's got a different colour scheme going on, a little bit blue and orange. Reminds me of MasterCard Lola from 1996. There's Jordan Harding, the number 16. He always runs orange and black, does Jordan. Good to have him back on circuit. This guy has always been fast. He was second in season 9. Hopefully he can do a full campaign, can the McLaren man. Let's see how he gets on. Nice to see him in a different car. He's normally in a Mustang, but this time he's decided otherwise. We also have the number 55 with the Skoda stripes. A Skoda could only wish to be as fast as the McLaren that he's driving right now. It's Daniel Hatton in another 720S. Very nice colours, that, actually, I have to say. Rich Jarram is back. He's the only Lamborghini in the field. So Ross Harris had that moniker for a number of seasons, and Jarram has just pulled out of the way. But he's running a gunmetal grey livery with a splice of black going on there. And then that should be everyone. I've flicked around in the field, but currently the man on provisional pole is the man who finished in the top 3 last week at Silverstone. It's Hartle Toby who leads the way at the moment. Yes, it kind of did, to be fair. It did, Joe, to be honest. That was a bit unfortunate. But hey-ho. Let's have a look at these qualifying times at the moment. So I'm going to go on a lap on board with somebody in a minute. But right now, it's Hartle Toby who leads the way. It's Simon Whiting in second place. Mark Chapman is in third. Then in fourth place at the moment, it's Mark Gray. Phoenix Night Train is in 5th place with Tony Sokolov 6th. Jeffrey Van Buren is 7th. And then we've got a bit of a gap back to Dennis Penders, who, despite finishing second last season and the utmost of consistency that he had, is still looking for his first podium with ACC Race Nation. I'd love to see him get one. But right now he's leading the next pack, which contains Ross Harris, Danny Zoutenbayer, our champion from last season, Davey Zoutenbayer, so the two Zouts together on the timing board. Jordan Harding is in 12th place. We have the McLaren going off the road. I think that was just Nick Lamming pulling out of the way. Then it's Rich Jarram and it's Tony Manley in the wall. And he's gone off at a very odd place there. He went off on the exit of turn... It was either exit of turn 8 or 11. The indicator's very, very close when you go off the road there. But he's 15th, the last of the second group. Then, outside 2 seconds, you have Fabio Matt. You also have Daniel Hatton. Byford Root. Liam Watkinson is a little bit further back. Joe Warner's not too far off Watkinson, to be fair to him. Packham and Wells yet to set a lap time. And of course, I am a spectator. So 22 cars out on track at the minute. And if I can get to him, I'm going to go for a lap on board with Jeffrey Van Buren. If we can find him, this is going to be, as Dennis Penner spins. There is Van Buren. Let's get on board for our lap of Kyalami. A difficult left-hander coming up here. You've got to spot the braking zone just before the 100-metre marker. Down through the gears for the Ferrari. He goes into first, does the Dutchman. He swings it out to the right-hand side. Turn 2 is pretty much flat, providing you get the line right, but it's all about positioning for turn number 4. The left-hander can't take too much curb on either side. It'll spit you out there into the wall, but he gets through there nice and cleanly. A smart approach then towards turn 5. The right-hander, it's a bit of a little bit of a braking zone, but it's more of a lift-off corner. Van Buren running a touch wide, the ballast working against him. The left-hander then, how does he get on through here? Not too bad so far from Jeffrey Van Buren. He's going to come down into the left-right at 7 and 8, down to second gear actually. For the Ferrari, has a big clamp over the curb. Gets away with not unsettling the car, and then it's a blind braking zone into turn 9. You've got to find your place in the racetrack to see where you want to brake for it, and Van Buren does have that locked down to a T. Out of turn 10, which is a flat left-hander even in the wet. Then we come towards turn 11, completely flat through here, but again it's about positioning here at Kyalami. Braking just after the 100-metre marker, down through the gears into the right-hander at 12. First gear once again for the Ferrari driver, but this is a very tidy lap. Turn 13 is where we saw most of the incidents from last season, right over the Astro curb. we went there with the Dutchman. He's got one more corner to try and line up on the exit, which he does. And that is a very tidy lap for Mr. Van Buren. And he's going to go a little bit quicker, but he doesn't improve his position. So 2 minutes 30 left in the session. So far, the action is just about starting to ramp up. I'm looking at the drivers who are coming around the track. We're going to stay in this position here. So Davy Zoutenbayer comes around the final corner. Will he make any improvements from 12th place? The answer to that currently is no. Sokolov is in the background. Tony doesn't make any improvements there. What about Dennis Penders? You've got Rich Jaram just in front of him. Jaram doesn't go any faster. Penders improves his lap time. Whilst we've been watching Penders, Harding also went up to the front of that group. Next driver to come along is going to be Joe Warner in the M4. He's flashing the lights as he goes along. Not really sure who he's flashing to, really. There's no one in front of him, but Joe does what Joe wants to do. What about Danny Zoutenbayer? He's got the zip livery on. That's more like it from the reigning champion. He's up to 6th place. 4/10 off provisional pole. Harding comes round the final corner. Is this going to be a movement? No, it isn't. What about the number 55? Hatton stays where he is, but he's got time for one more lap. And I just saw someone else make a move up here. I couldn't quite see who it was there. Tony Manley's coming out of the final corner, but very slowly. So he's got to have to put his foot down and go for a lap. So there aren't many drivers out on circuit, I have to say. Right now, the number 208, Hartle-Toby, is on provisional pole by 0.2 of a second. Sokolov will have a chance to respond. Out of the final corner. Here he comes towards the start-finish line. No improvement yet. Zoutenbayer doesn't improve. They're going to have one last flying effort to make a difference here. Rich Jaram will make it round for one more lap. It looks like he's going towards the marshal post, so perhaps he's done for the evening. What about Byford Root? Not in the Porsche from last season. That's an improvement from Jacob. That's a good lap time, and he's got just over the line in time, actually. So if he wants to do another lap, he can do. That's a nice time from him. So Danny Zoutenbayer, he's carried on. There aren't many drivers left on circuit. There's 5 drivers who could set a lap time. That's very wide from the reigning champion. Will he have any improvement? No, he doesn't. That's it. That's his qualifying session over. And as is the same for Daniel Hatton, who's gone off the road. So we cut our way forward to the 6th place man of Tony Sokolov. We're looking at Davy Zoutenbayer's Nissan there in the background. Round the next corner here at turn 10. Flat to the floor. 3 drivers left to set a lap time. Davy Zoutenbayer being the next one, but Sokolov has got to get his braking zone right here. He's got to get the car turned in and not squirt on the power too early, which he's done quite well. And then the penultimate corner, you can make a big mistake here and have a massive accident, but he's fine for the time being. Into the final corner. Can Sokolov get off the 3rd row and make an impression on the guys at the front? Yes, he can! It's provisional pole for Sokolov. What a lap time that is, right at the end of the session when you need it. He snatched pole away from Hartle-Toby. Byford Rue, the last driver to come across the line. Can he get off row 9? We'll have to have a look. No is the answer to that. Joe saying he was flashing as I have the stream on whilst driving. He was flashing at me. Fairly certain we can report you for that, Joe. Evening to you, Jordan. Hope you're doing okay. Good lap time from you in the end. You're at the front of the second group here. But well done to Tony Sokolov taking pole position here at Kyalami. Hartle-Toby will line up on the front row with him. In third place, we will have Mark Chapman. You can't see him on the timing board, but he is there in third place. It's Simon Whiting alongside him on row number 2. Jeffrey Van Buren, who won last week, don't forget, he's in 5th place with that success ballast on the car. 6th place, great qualifying from Mark Gray in the Mustang. Danny's Outenbyers 7th, and then Phoenix Night Train is 8th in the number 21 Porsche. Jordan Harding is 9th, and Dennis Penders rounds out the top 10. It's Ross Harris and Davey Zoutenbauer on row number 6. Row 7, that consists, of course, of Nick Lamming and Rich Jarram. Tony Manley and Daniel Hatton are in 15th and 16th place, respectively. In 17th place at the moment, we have Fabio Matt with Jacob Byford-Rue in 18th. Liam Watkinson and Joe Warner, not too far off the field, actually. It's a good showing, that, for Joe, just to be within 5 seconds of pole position. That gap's come down from when we last raced here back in season 9. That's impressive from Joe, seeing the improvements from him all the time. And then not setting a lap time is Stuart Packham and John Wells, who I'm sure will be delighted that he's managed to turn himself on with his Thrustmaster this evening. On average below. I'm assuming on average below that's you, Tom, because if that is the case, we do miss you. But for everybody saying in the chat, it's nice to see you all. It is really good to be back. And Jordan saying he's miles off the pace. Yeah, but you are currently in 9th place, and you never know what can happen in front of us. There's 8 cars in front of you there. There's always action here at Kyalami. I'm just going to give myself a breather for about 60 seconds. I'll be back shortly. Well, the 30-second timer has just been announced, so the drivers will be firing up the engines, getting themselves all ready to go for the hour's worth of action ahead of us. And yeah,
10 seconds.
Jeffrey Van Buren saying, I think he did his personal best. I mean, it had to be to get onto pole position. That was some lap from Hartle Toby to be on pole for so long, but alas, it's Sokolov on pole position. And of course, Mark Gray giving you those compliments there too. But the formation lap is underway then here with ACC Race Nation. The drivers will be approaching turn 1. If you're new to the stream, you're new to the championship. Oh, good. It's decided to give us the car electronics instead of the timing board. That's always a good sign. So, if I'm showing everybody your setup, I do apologise. It wasn't my intention, and I'd like to mention that this game does not like spectator mode in the slightest. Yeah, it really is. It really is, Mark. It's a good comment you make. It's a cracking corner up that way. But at the moment, annoyingly, we can't actually see anything other than the car electronic. You can see the brake bias and the different settings that people are running on their cars, but I'm not interested in any of that. I just want to see the timing tower, which is a little bit frustrating. Liam Watkinson has gone flying up the road. I'm not quite sure why that's happened, but he's He's alongside Joe, so I wonder if he just got caught out a little bit and maybe had a spin or something. I'm also fascinated to see how Packham gets on in the Bentley, because that car around here, especially in sector 2 and 3, that's going to be a bullet in a straight line. But sector 1 is probably where that car will struggle. We'll wait to see. Got on board, or off board I should say, with Chappers. There's Tony Manley. I'm just trying to get to our race leader, because for those that don't know how this works with ACC Race Nation, or indeed most GT3 racing, we have a rolling start, and the drivers will line up 2 by 2, a bit like Noah's Ark, until we get to the start finish line. When the flag drops, they're free to race, and I'm sure everyone will be eager to have a good second race of the season. There are quite a number of drivers who will be looking to bounce back with a good result. Davies Outenbuyer, John Wells being 2 of those people. They didn't finish last week. But then there are other drivers like Danny Outenbuyer, Mark Chapman, Simon Whiting, Dennis Penders. They'll be looking to get a good result after their point scores. But we shall wait and see. We shall wait and see how everybody does here for tonight. We're following Sokolov. There is Dennis Penders as well. Just looking to see Danny Outenbuyer there in 7th place on the formation lap. Everyone now lining themselves up. You can get a penalty, of course, for not being in the right way, but the race is about to go live in 2 moments' time. And the race is live here at Kyalami. It looks like a monstrous start for the Mustang, and it's going to be 3 wide almost going into turn 1. Simon Whiting's going through the middle. You've also got Mark Chapman looking at the inside, but it's going to be very, very tight into turn 1. Simon Whiting looks like he's going to skip into the lead by the seams of it. Yes, he does. He's gone through. Hartle Toby's going to try and hang on to 2nd place, but for Sokolov, he's got to try and be brave here, and he is. He just about holds on in front. We've got a car around. That is Dennis Penders, who's off the road. There's been an incident further back, and that's such a shame. We try and get back to these cars. Let's see what we can do. As Mark Chapman runs very, very wide to go all the way around the outside of Toby. That could be brave. It could be bold and brilliant. And that's exactly what it is. He's got through. Toby not giving it up in 4th place, but I think Chappers is going to have the corner, and he does. He's into 3rd place. That's a brilliant overtake in the Aston Martin Racing V8 Vantage. Cracking move. Liam Watkinson's also been in troubles early on in the race. Mark Gray just watching this in the background. Jeffrey Van Buren's there. Danny Outenbuyer. Jordan Hardin's there too. And then you've got the number 87 of Nick Lamming on the edge of this group. Little bit of a gap back to Ross Harris, so there's already a split in the field, but Simon Whiting is going for it. He's got to put his foot down, and this is the time for him to try and do that. I'm completely unsure as to why we can't see the timing tower, but this is going to become even more awkward than what it normally is for me when I'm viewing. So I'm going to go with these cameras for the time being. That Mustang's quick in a straight line, closing up to the back of Chapman, but that Aston Martin is also quick. Mark Gray just following in behind. There's Van Buren's Outenbuyer together, and Hardin running a little bit deep there, did Jordan, but he got away with it. And the gaps are just starting to appear in the field. There's Davies Outenbuyer. Just watching him. Byford Roos actually got past Tony Manley, so fair play to Jacob. In front of Manley there. I think he got overtaken. Yes, he did get overtaken by Outenbuyer though. Phoenix Night Train right behind his fellow Porsche stablemate. In fact, out of the Porsches in the field, these are tonight the only 2, and they find themselves together on circuit. Now, Tony Sokolov has decided to get on with it, and he's away from Chappers in 3rd place. Cut to the external shot here if we can. because the Ferrari is putting pressure on the back of the McLaren. Oh, here we go. To the outside. Oh, a little bit of contact. Gee, that was exceptionally close. And Simon Whiting's offline as well. That was just a coming together. Mark's telling me to cycle my MFD button to turn that around. The frustrating thing for me, Mark, is I don't know what it's mapped to. I'll try and figure it out with buttons as I go along. I've got to be very careful though, because I can't press the square button. If I press the square button, the whole stream crashes. Don't ask me why it does that. It's just a feature from last season. Sokolov really applying the pressure to the McLaren right now. Skipping back through a little bit. On board in the helmet camera. We've got a pit stop going on for Jeffrey Van Buren. And Jeffrey's been in the walls. We haven't seen it. But last week's race winner is in the pits. And I wonder if he's getting damage sorted. Just underneath the rear wing of Simon Whiting at the moment. Sokolov looking quick in these early stages, and Simon will be conscious of that. He'll want to try and stay in front where he can. Looking at Dennis Penders with that damage at the front of the car. He did go round, and whether looks like he's nosed the wall, but he's finding his way through the field, so he's doing okay for now. And yeah, Van Buren is in the pits fixing damage, and it's just recycled. Yeah, it looked like he'd been hit in the back from something there. He doesn't want to go a lap down, but I fear he's going to, which is a massive shame. Oh, it's Phoenix Night Train. That looks like there's a move going on up front. Yeah, it definitely does. I think he's going to go past Nick Lamming. We'll watch it from Davies' point of view here, because he's also got a car pretty much right behind him. And yeah, that's a move completed. But to be fair to Nick Lamming, they're both giving each other about the space of the M1 there to go through turn 1 together. Just going to see my settings, people. Do bear with me. Oh, look at this. Sautenbayer's going to go past. Oh, contact. Door-to-door contact between Lamming and Zautenbayer. They both survive another day. And I think Tony Manley's gone round, and John Wells is affected, and I also think that Daniel Hatton's been affected in that too. And Tony Manley's back in the pit, so that's big damage, and that's a shame for the Italian. And Nick Lamming's just going backwards at the moment. I've just noticed a few times. He's under pressure now from, I think that is going to be Ross Harris, but they've not come through the shot together. Have they both gone off? I think they have. Wow, it's all developing and kicking off here. Bear with me, I am trying to figure out what this is. It's not ideal, I didn't want this to happen. We're just gonna have to work with it. We're just gonna have to work with it for now. Maybe when the pit stop sequences come around, we'll be able to resolve it. Annoyingly, this just does seem to affect the streams, and it's always something silly that I can't sort out. In fact, I'm going to give myself a moment to sort this out. So, apologies if the stream goes off, but I think for everyone's benefit and for my own benefit, it'll just help with the broadcast a little bit more. What I've fantastically realised in terms of the racing so far is now that I've got everything sorted, I had to reset my mic and everything, but we've got it all there. Simon Whiting leads the way. You've got Tony Sokolov in second place. Then it's Chappers in third. He's 2 seconds back, but he's just about holding off Hartle Toby, Mark Gray, and then Danny Zoutenbayer is on his own. But he can see the pack. Jordan Harding's doing a good job. He's got Van Buren behind him, but he's a lap down. Phoenix Night Train is in 8th place. It's Davy Zoutenbayer in 9th. Stuart Packham, after that great move up the inside of the 167 Ferrari, he's inside the top 10. But I've got to say, that Bentley is gigantic compared to a number of the other cars in the field. Then Fabio Matt, who's having a good drive so far, keeping out of trouble. Dennis Penders is there. Ross Harris, who went off the road, I think, earlier with Nick Lamming. We didn't see it. Then it's Rich Jarram in the top 15, although he's gone very, very deep at the right-hander of 12. Skips across the Astro, gets away with it. John Wells is 16th. Then in 17th place, you've got Daniel Hatton, who got impeded earlier. Still not quite sure what happened as someone clicks up the dust. And it's Jacob Byford-Root, Joe Warner, Liam Watkinson, and Jeffrey Van Buren after his damage. We didn't see what happened to him, but sadly, I put him a little bit further back. A couple of fights going on as Rich Jarram moves into the pit lane. Well, this is the view on board with the Mustang GT3. I'm going to switch the camera here. Whoa, as we joined on the actual head-up display camera here. And Gray just almost running into the back of Toby there. But right now, Chapman doing a good job. You can just see the tyre breaking loose a little bit on the back of the Mustangs. They are, of course, I would describe them as being very heavy with the throttle application, and Toby's got it wrong. Almost runs into the back of Chapman, and that's a move for Mark Gray. Yes, there we go. Mark Gray moves in front. That was quite clever, that, to be honest, because Hartle Toby went off the road, and Gray just gave him no opportunity to get him back on the track, and Toby had to relinquish 4th place. So smart driving that from the Mustang man. And those two Fords swap places. But for Toby, he'll be probably relieved more than anything that he didn't have a massive accident. Simon Whiting still fending off Tony Sokolov for the race lead. Here's Ross Harris. He's got a new helmet for this season. Fantastic. He's just under a second behind Fabio Matt, who I think Fabio is just slipping backwards a little bit. I think he kept himself out of trouble at the start and got himself into the top 10, which was great to see. But I think his natural pace maybe is just a little bit below where he is right now. That's not to criticise him, of course. He's doing a great job in 12th place, and I hope he can stay up there for as long as he possibly can. There's Phoenix Night Train, trying to drive like a freight train and catch up to the back of Jordan in 7th place, but he's in 8th right now. There's Fabio Matt running around. There's Danny Zoutenbayer running a lonely race at the moment, but he's got Jordan Harding just about keeping him company at the moment, but not threatening him too much yet in the race. Back at the front, Tony Sokolov. I wonder at what point Tony Sokolov will be thinking about doing an undercut on Whiting instead, trying to get some fresh, or trying to do an overcut. Look how much more confidence he has on the brakes at the quarter mark point of the race. Absolutely flying. But Whiting just seems to have all of the boxes ticked at the moment. He's just covering the lines where he needs to. He's not making any mistakes. It's going to take either a confident move from Sokolov, and whether the Croatian can find a way past, we'll have to find out. Oh, Whiting just drifting the car through turn 5. Again, in the brakes, just Sokolov seems to have so much more confidence under the heavier braking zones. Seems to be able to place the car in positions where the McLaren can't quite reach. But he's never quite close enough for an overtake, and it seems like the McLaren has got the edge on it on the straight, so he's going to have to get creative in that Ferrari to go past, as Mark Gray runs a little bit wide in the background there. Dennis Pender's fighting with Stuart Packham over 10th position. Well, Packham running exceptionally wide there, but gets away with it. But the problem for Penders is similar to kind of how Sokolov is following Whiting at the moment. The Ferrari doesn't appear to be the fastest car in a straight line. It seems to have a mile-an-hour deficit in the straight. And when you're running up against a Bentley, you will always have a deficit in the straights because of how thunderous the straight line speed is in that car. Penders slides the car through the right-hander at the penultimate corner, but this is just a pure demonstration. We're going to watch this, even though Packham's not got the best line. You just watch as the Bentley pulls away. It just eases away from the Ferrari, and that's the issue that Penders is going to have, I think, today. If he wants to get past the Bentley, he's going to have to find a creative way past. I do think, though, Packham did have a mistake on that lap. He lost a couple of seconds, so a little slide somewhere. Van Buren's come out in front of Jacob Byford-Rue, who's just had a huge slide through turn 5. Gathered it all up, no harm done. He has just pitted as well, Byford-Rue, so he's got fresh tyres to try and close the gap down to the drivers in front of him that have not yet stopped. But those two are a lap down. But again, there are a lot of drivers who are yet to pit. John Wells running in 14th place after starting in 22nd. Joe Warner. Every time I try to cut to Joe Warner, the camera doesn't want me to follow him. It's almost as if every time I talk about him, I give him a curse. Davy Zauten, do you know why I keep getting thrown off by Davy Zoutenbayer's livery? Is because the way that the livery is quite reminiscent of the late 2000s Lexus SCF liveries from the Japanese touring cars. It's very similar to that in terms of the blockwork scheme that's running along the side of it. It's just reminding me of that, and that's why I keep looking at it thinking, crikey, it's a Lexus, and I was like, no, of course it's not. It's a Nissan GTR. But it just keeps catching me out in my mind. So that's where I'm thinking. But Davey doing a solid job at the moment, inside the top 10, on his own. He's not close to Phoenix Night Trainer Nath. He's 7 seconds back. But he's also 7 seconds and a bit in front of Stuart Packham, who was just there. Chapper's still in front of this trio of drivers. He is, of course, the lead of the trio. But because of Simon Whiting holding up Tony Sokolov, these guys aren't too far away. You know, we ride on board with Mark Chapman here. He's going to be looking at that thinking, undercut is a possibility here. If he gets a new set of boots on a lap earlier, he might emerge in front of these race leaders. But I'd say we're still about 10 minutes away from the normal regulation pit stops. Some people do go a little bit earlier. Some of them decide to go longer. Whoa, how close to the grass was Chapman then. Fantastic that was. Nick Lamin having a good fight with Daniel Hatton at the moment. The two McLarens running yellow stripes on their cars. You could see though that the number 55, Hatton all over the back of the green Ferrari. You can see that McLaren moving in the braking zone. That's exceptionally close. Coming into the right-hander now, the penultimate corner. And then down through the gears. Can Hatton get a good exit It's not bad. It's not bad, but I don't think it's quite close enough to make a lunge into turn number 1. We're watching as we go into the braking zone. Oh no, right now it's not quite close enough, but they are part of a crew, a quintet, that are fighting over 12th place, and you've got Fabio Matt at the front of that quintet right now. Simon Whiting's been overtaken for the race lead. We didn't watch it, we were too busy focusing on the Inter-McLaren battle. But Tony Sokolov has found a way through, and it must have been some overtake because it's brought everybody back together in the top 5. But after 20 minutes of pressure, Tony Sokolov, the Croatian, has took the lead away from Simon Whiting. And now how can the McLaren respond? The thing for Simon is he'll know that his Ferrari counterpart in front of him isn't as quick in a straight line. However, if you're 6/10 back at the start of the straight, it's not going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1, and Chapman is right there too. Good action going on here at ACC Race Nation right now. The number 100 is in the lead, and the number 19 is under pressure now to try and steal a march back on the race leader and try and snatch that back off of him. You can see Whiting moving the car around a lot. Over the curve, actually hitting the inside of that curve. You've got to be really careful you don't damage the car when you do that. They've got Rich Jarram just in front of them. Oh, that's wide from Sokolov. That's a different line than we'd expect. And Watkinson having a bit of trouble there. I'm not sure quite what happened. That was a bit peculiar. He's been overtaken by Joe Warner as we were talking. Jordan is in front of Danny Zoutenbayer, so Harding has also made a move whilst we've been watching the lead group. He moves into 6th place, so despite Jordan having said in the pre-race chat he's got no speed, his evidence is demonstrating that his race pace isn't bad at all. Just going to cut forward. There's Sokolov. There's those 5 right here. Oh, a little slide for Whiting. And I think that was Mark Gray just running. Yeah, there's contact! There's contact between the 2 Fords. They've put each other around, and annoyingly this game, there we go. Mark Gray has gone round and he's hit the wall. I just saw Mark Gray go deep into turn 1, and as he came back onto the, well, not off the circuit, but as he came onto the circuit again, onto the racing line, him and Hartle Toby made contact. And sadly for Gray, he's got now Jordan Harding right behind him. Just looking to see what the damage is. Oh, there's a bit of damage going on there. He's trying to get himself into shape, but he's struggling. He's going to try and defend the inside line. Harding looking to go around the outside, but I think Danny Zoutenbayer is going to sneak up the inside here. Yeah, he does. Really nice, canny car control from Zoutenbayer. The Dutchman moves in front of Mr. Harding, who drops down to 7th. He'll be a bit annoyed at that. He got a little bit balked with Harding trying to get past Gray, but alas, a season 10 champion showing his colours, sneaking in front, taking 6th place back. Now, will we see Mark Gray peel into the pits? No. And Jordan almost sending a errant look down at the final corner. That would have been brave. Gray decided to carry on. I'm wondering if he hit the back of the car and not the front. I haven't been able to see any damage on the front of the car because I'm not getting the camera angles Yeah, he has hit the wall. You can see the bonnets skipping about a bit at the minute. His lap time this time around. Yeah, his lap time this time around, he's losing time. He definitely has got some significant damage on the car. And you can see Zoutenbayer and Harding all over the wobbling diffuser on the back of that GT3 Mustang. Oh, here comes Harding. He's on the inside. He's going to try and sneak one up the inside at turn number 7. And it looks like he's gone through, yeah, with the rear view camera. He has re-overtaken Danny Zoutenbayer. These two are just playing off each other by the fact that the Mustang in front of them is holding them both up. You can see Harding though has got so much more grip available to him. I wonder when Mark will choose to come into the pit and change that damage. Oh, Harding trying to go around the outside. He's trying to get a gap between him. Did we just see synchronised spinning between Jordan Harding and Mark Gray? It didn't look like there was any contact of any form. It just looked like they went round together. Well, well, well. Mark Gray in the pits. Harding carries on. He's lost time. I was going to say he's lost time to Danny Zoutenbayer, but Danny Zoutenbayer has also come into the pits. So those two getting themselves sorted. They're one of the earliest pitters. Phoenix Night Train pitted as well early on. Don't know if he's going to come out in front of Zoutenbayer. He wasn't far away from this fight, actually. So perhaps he might benefit from this. Zoutenbayer's coming down the pit lane now. Let's just keep an eye on this. Now he puts the throttle down to the floor. Phoenix Night Train. It's going to be close. Going to be very, very close, but this might be well worked from Night Train. Side by side into turn 1, but Night Train has his tyres up to temperature and the Porsche moves through. That was a smart bit of strategic play from the 992 Porsche. But Phoenix, whose nationality we don't know, but I'm going to assume for now he's Monegasque because of his red and white livery, has moved past the reigning champion. Simon Whiting's in the pits. Now, here we go then. This is an important pit stop. Simon got overtaken earlier by Sokolov, who has got a bit of a gap to Mark Chapman. But having said that, he's just had to lap Joe Warner. So perhaps he's not as far in front as we thought. He might have lost a little bit of time then. Packham was very close to the back of that McLaren on the last split time. He's half a second back as he crosses the start-finish line. He's going to keep gaining on the McLaren, but he won't be close enough. Now Simon comes out of the pit lane. Oh, where's he going to feed out? Because if he comes out behind these two, which I think he will, yeah, he's going to come out behind Fabio Matt and John Wells. He's in front of Ross Harris. Byford Rue's a back marker. Simon's got to hope that those two in front of him decide to make a pit stop, otherwise he's going to have to work his way past. And that might cost him some time. But for the time being, he's got a little bit of clean air. Got a couple of seconds actually up to the back of John and Fabio. He's 4 seconds behind, so let's keep an eye out on that. Oh, that's a huge slide. What a save. That is from Hartle Toby, and sure enough, he comes into the pits. That was a huge moment that could have ended in disaster for the Mustang driver. I did say before, the penultimate corner can cause problems. That was a huge problem for the 208, but he just about collected it all together. Good car control. He pits alongside Mark Chapman. So those two are doing the undercut, trying to make most of fresh tyres over what Tony Sokolov has right now. But I don't think the Croatian will care too much about that. I think he'll be running to his own pace. That's going to put Davy Zoutenbayer in the top 2. Jordan Harding moves into 3rd. We've also got Packham and Dennis Penders in the pit lane. Fabio Amat and John Wells carrying on, but Simon Whiting is catching them like a rocket ship in that McLaren right now. But he'll be focused on where these guys are, and I think Chappers is going to come out comfortably in front. Yeah, he's miles ahead. Absolutely miles ahead is Simon Whiting in front of Mark Chapman. That is a big advantage that he's got, and Chappers won't be too pleased that he's come out behind traffic at a really awkward place. To be fair to Byford Rue though, that's good race awareness from the M4. He moves right out the way. But currently, Simon Whiting with the undercut. I want to know what the gap is actually between himself and Chapman right now. This is going to be a good few seconds. 5.7 seconds. It's a fantastic undercut for the McLaren driver. And with fresh rubber on, can he make an impression on Tony Sokolov, who was pulling away in the Ferrari? He's waited until Whiting has come into the pits. So race leader's in the pits. Zoutenbayer's in 2nd. Harding is 3rd. Matt is 4th. John Wells is in 5th, although that's an interesting line. He's very excited as John. He's managed to get his wheels sorted. He's got a replacement cable to plug in. Davy Zoutenbayer has carried on, so he's going to lead the race. He ran a race last season, did Davy Zoutenbayer, when the pit stop cycle happened. So it's nice to see him at the front again. Even if he is yet to pit, it's still important for drivers to lead races. Sokolov is leaving the pit lane. Where is Simon Whiting? I did say he was going to catch those guys in front of him, and he has done. Sokolov is getting up to speed now, and he's going to be in front. He is going to maintain the advantage. Thank you to ACC Race Nation for giving us all the information we needed to know there. But there is Simon Whiting in the background, and he's, I'm going to estimate, 3 seconds behind the net race leader. Well, Sokolov is on his way to a potential race victory, and the other thing that's a beauty for him is that he has no one in front of him, and Simon Whiting has got 2 cars to try and get past. He's trying to find a way past John Wells. But he's going to have to be brave and bold here, because this won't be an easy overtake, because John Wells is not an easy driver to get past, and it's for position too. No blue flags need to fly here. John Wells has every right to fight for his position. Oh, John Wells goes defensive. Whiting trying to look around the outside, but got it a little bit wrong. And the other thing for Simon as well is that he's got to find a way past these two as Fabio Matt pits. So there's one car out of the way. But what I was about to say was he needs to find a way past quickly, because Chappers is catching him in the Aston Martin. Let's just have a look at the gap as they come across the line. 5 seconds, yeah. Chapman's took a second out of Simon in this lap alone. The longer it takes him to get past this M4, the more of a threat does Chapman become. It's a nice line from Whiting actually, that through the left-hander at 4. He's right under the rear wing. He's going to have to do something bold. He's going to look to try and do something bold to go past the inside of John Wells. There's a little bit of contact, and that I think might be John Wells round. Yes, he is. Oh, Simon was pushing. He needed to get past. There was the thinly veiled gap there for a McLaren to try and squeeze through, but unfortunately that move never really seemed like it was going to happen for the McLaren driver. And I think the stewards will have something to say about that. He is past John Wells, not in the way he would have wanted. But as a result, he's in 5th position. Did he lose much time to Chapman in that incident as well? Let's just look at the gap. Yeah, 4.3 seconds. So he's lost more time. As Harding pits from 2nd place. And he'll do a nice stint on these tyres to the end of the race now, but they'll be a little bit fresher at the end than the ones he's running. Davies out and by is still leading. We've got a stop and go penalty, annoyingly, for Nick Lamming for speeding in the pit lane. He was in 17th place. Well, he currently still is in 17th place, but I fear that that will not be the case when he comes in to serve that, and I think Byford Rue might overtake him, but it does say he's 2 laps down, so perhaps not. Yeah, will Harding come out in relation to Packham? I think he's going to come out behind. Up through the gears goes the McLaren, but along the straight goes the Bentley. That is a change inside the top 10, but still drivers yet to pit. Ross Harris being one of them. The unluckiest man last season was Ross Harris in his Lamborghini, which is probably why he's stopped driving it, to be honest, so that people don't have just make an automatic beeline for the car. But he's got a pit. John Wells is just struggling a little bit, and I wonder if that's as a result of the contact between himself and Whiting. Ross Harris has got damage as well, interestingly enough. It looks like it looks quite superficial, the damage. Oh, look at this, he's down the inside actually, but not close enough for a proper look at the M4 in front of him. Right on board with John Wells, we can see the Porsche 992 just behind him as Lamming comes in to serve that stop-go penalty. We've absolutely flown through this race, ladies and gentlemen. Into the pits comes John Wells, so that releases Ross Harris. But we've flown through this race. We've got less than 23 minutes remaining on the clock. Normally I would make a point to mention the halfway distance mark, but it came and went. Joe Warner circulating in 20th place, getting the blue flags for Mark Gray. He's down in 13th after his crash earlier and subsequent damage. Davies out and by still leads the way. The number 18 still hasn't pitted. Not sure if Davey is hoping for a red flag or something along those lines. But he is definitely doing a longer stint compared to most. But the Dutchman's out there having a good time. He's having fun. He's racing well. He's in clear air, importantly. So if he keeps these lap times up that he's doing, and they're not badly inconsistent either. He's somewhere between the 42.9s and the 43.5s. If he can keep that level of consistency up, he'll be in a very strong position when he pits later. And he'll have much fresher tyres than cars around him. But right now he leads the race. Tony Sokolov will be the race leader once the Dutchman pits. Simon Whiting will be second. Chappers in third once the Nissan pits from the race lead. Then it's Hartle Toby, who hasn't really recovered since the incident with Mark Gray. He hasn't really been able to latch back onto the group in front of him, and he's 10 seconds behind now. Ross Harris has got a whole heap of cars behind him, including Felix Night Train, who is still in front of Danny Zoutenbayer after that earlier pit stop. Oh, down the inside for the Porsche. Porsche on Porsche action, but the 244 remains in front. Let's see if we can get on board with Phoenix. There we go. on board with the Monegasque driver. We don't know if he's from Monaco, but that's what I'm going with. You can see Sautenbayer in the rear view window trying to find a way through. He's harrying and harassing the two Porsches in front of him, who in turn is harrying and harassing Ross Harris in front of us. So close you can see the fumes coming off the back of the exhaust. Look how close to the back of us Sautenbayer is, and we get a little touch in the back actually. A little tap in the rear from the 296 Ferrari. The reigning champion is a bit fed up of being stuck behind these two. He wants to find a way past. Night Train just attacking and defending at the moment in 7th position. But again, it's not quite close enough to make a move. He doesn't have to be now because the 244 finally pits from 6th place in the race. Night Train carries on. And now for Sautenbayer. He will only have one Porsche in front of him to deal with. Ride on board with last season's champion. Looks like the gap's just stretched out a touch whilst we've been watching. I have to say, Stuart Packham is driving brilliantly at the moment. He's only 3 seconds behind these two. And considering he started in 21st place, this has been a wonderful drive from the Bentley boy. Oh, Sautenbayer runs wide through 7 and 8. I think Joe Warner's had a spin at the penultimate corner. And here is what will be in a moment your race leader again. Davy Sautenbayer, with less than 20 minutes to go, has finally pitted, which is good to see. So Tony Sokolov resumes the lead of the race, the Croatian, and he'll be happy to have that P1 back next to his name. But I said earlier, he's the driver to watch for this championship, I feel. Considering his past form in ACC Race Nation, he is very, very quick. And he's absolutely flying this evening. Can he bring the car home? He's 5.2 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, who is being caught. Simon White. Let's just have a look at the gap. Yeah, the gap down to 2.7 seconds between Mark Chapman and Simon White. And Chapman absolutely flying after the McLaren. And these two look like they might do battle on circuit again, as they have done over the previous seasons. Night Train seems to have got a grip of Sautenbayer. The gap's now out to 1.2 seconds. Packham was gaining, but has lost a little bit of time. And Harding is gaining as well. Davy Sautenbayer on his brand new tyres that are considerably younger than everybody else's. See if he can close the gap to the drivers in front of him. Dennis Penders rounds out the top 10. He's had a very solid, quiet race, as Dennis Penders. The Belgian, once again, demonstrating, despite having a bit of a naff start and getting spun around, how to drive competitively and keep your nose clean when other people bush it about for you. But the Belgian in 10th place. Good recovery drive. Mark Gray's in 11th. What might have been for Mark? He's in a bit of no man's land now as a result of the accident between himself and Hartle Toby. I have to say, it did look as if it was a bit of 2 into 1 went contact wheel. It wasn't as clear cut as Mark might think it is, because they were both going for the same piece of tarmac. I think the stewards, of course, will look at it. Whether they decide Toby's at fault, we'll have to wait and see, but looked like a bit of an innocuous coming together, unfortunately. John Wells is 12th. Fabio Matt, the man with 2 first names, he's in 13th place. Van Buren is 14th after his damage from earlier in the race, so he won't be a repeat winner today. He's done well to recover back. He was down in 21st place at one stage, was the Dutchman, but he's fought his way back up to 14th, and he's not far from Fabio Matt, so he still could squeak inside a top 13, maybe even catch John Wells if he's got the speed. We know how quick Van Buren can be sometimes, but we'll have to watch out for that. Rich Jarram's in 15th. He's going to get lapped by Tony Sokolov, who was our race leader. Ross Harris, after his late pit stop, he's in 16th. Liam Watkinson is in 17th place. You've got Nick Lamming in 18th. Byford Rue in 19th. You also have Daniel Hatton in 20th, and Joe Warner is in last place, but I still think doing a very good job in the M4. Someone has retired from the session. Just going to try and work out who that is of the drivers at the moment. Just wondering if it's Tony Manley, I think, who has retired. Yes, it is. Tony Manley, having that damage early on in the race, has kind of scuppered any chance he had. So, Tony Manley, the only retirement from this race, with less than 14 minutes remaining. The gaps have opened out a little bit. I've got to say, Night Train's done a very incredible second stint. He seems to have just got into a groove. He's pulled away from Zoutenbayer because Packham and Harding are catching him. They're absolutely flying. We'll have a look at the lap times here. We'll just cut back across. So Packham on the last lap did a 43 flat. And we have to cycle through all of the cars in the world and the animals of Farthing Wood before we get to Danny Zoutenbayer. And he did a 43.5. So not exactly as if the champion is making mistakes. It's just a little bit slower at the moment. Maybe he pushed very hard at the tyres early on in that little fight he had with Night Train, and the tyres just haven't come back to him since then. Perhaps that's what the problem is. But he is under pressure from the two behind, who are closer. For Danny Zoutenbayer, he'd have to hope realistically that as he does a 42.9. He actually, to be fair, he was quicker than Packham on the last lap, but Jordan Harden was even quicker than the pair of them. He's 7 tenths quicker than Zoutenbayer and a second up on Stuart Packham. But he's got to hope, Zoutenbayer, that when Harding gets up to the back of the Bentley, they fight for a little bit and just gives him some breathing room over the remaining 12 minutes. There's our race leader. Cruising right now is the Croatian. Doesn't have anything to worry about, not a care in the world. Just got to spot his braking zones. Keep it nice and tidy. And he has looked neat. That's the thing with Sokolov, is he's looked neat throughout tonight. He's not really put a foot wrong. His race start is probably the only thing you could criticise him for, but he's very quickly bounced back from that. 42.7 on that lap, a 42.6 from Simon White and a 42.3 from Mark Chapman. So at this stage in the race, the other podium drivers at the moment, they are lapping a touch quicker than Sokolov, but when you've got a 7-second advantage, you can afford to lose a tenth when there's roughly 5 or 6 laps to go. Panda's on his own. Jeffrey Van Buren now on the back of Fabio Matt. and then he'd have to try and find 6 seconds to John Wells, which would be incredibly impressive if he did. Better line than the Italian in front of him. Down the hill they go towards the right-hander here. At turn number 12. Through the little left-hander, which isn't an officially classed corner, and then the right-hander at the penultimate one. And they both took the same line through there. They both ran wide into the penultimate corner. But for Van Buren, this is important. For the championship as well, it's important. It's very early days, but every point counts, especially early on in the championship. It's vital that you get the points on the board. And that way you give yourself a little bit of breathing room later on in the season. Mark Chapman now 1.3 seconds behind Simon Whiting. He's got the bit between his teeth. And the AMR V8 driver looks like he's going to be in striking distance in the next lap or two if he can continue with this speed. We'll tune back in for that one. There's a nice fight still going on here between Lamming and Liam Watkinson. McLaren on McLaren, but they're quite close together. And Jordan Harding has moved past Stuart Packham, who I think has made a mistake, which is why the McLaren has gone through, because that gap's now 1.2 seconds. So Jordan Harding moves up to 7th, and he'll want to see if he can. It's as wide as you dare. But he'll want to see if he can try and catch Zoutenbayer. 3 seconds is a big ask with 8 minutes to go. But it's not improbable. We've got a slow car off the circuit. I'm just trying to work out who that is. It's Joe Warner. That is, of course, Hartle Toby. Putting a lap on Ross Harris. He's got the fastest lap of the race. There's Hartle. He's having a good drive so far, and considering he's got ballast on, and the Mustang isn't the easiest car to carry the ballast, I think he'll be happy to score 4th place. Still lapping very consistently as well in the 42s. But again, ever since the incident, and maybe he picked up a little bit of damage that he needed to get sorted at the pit stop, just hasn't had a say in the destination of the race victory. And that's just how it is sometimes. But he's putting in a good shift so far. The opening 2 races of the season, he's done a really, really solid job, has Toby. I want to see how I watch his season with interest, I have to say. He develops. Phoenix Night Train's impressed me as well. He's had a good drive. He made that very, very early pit stop, but he's absolutely flying. Jeffrey Van Buren's just gone past Fabio Matt for 13th place. Well, I've got to give credit where it's due to Fabio Matt. I said earlier about his race speed. Maybe it's not inside the top 10, but it's good enough for 14th right now, and should be really proud of this result. But the closest fight on track, where do we think it's going to be? Of course, what did I say before? Mark Chapman, Simon Whiting doing battle all over again. These two the closest on circuit, and the difference is that Chappers has caught the McLaren. He's now got to try and find a way past the early race leader. Don't forget, Simon taking the race victory with a brilliant 3-wide move into turn 1. Led the race for the first 20 minutes. Sokolov has since disappeared up the road and got past him. but he's still driving very, very well. But now he has to defend again. From Chapman, oh, that was close to the grass. Jeez, that was especially close. You can just see how hard the AMR V8 is being pushed here. We're coming up to a back marker. It's an M4 that's in front of us. It moves to the right hand side, just gets out of the way. It's Byford route, it's good driving that. Once again. But where will he try and make an overtake on the McLaren? That's the thing, is we've got number 55 just getting out of the way there. So Daniel Hatton having a bit of a moment on the exit of turn 9 and 10. Oh, that's a little bit deep from the McLaren, and this is a big opportunity for Aston Martin now. He's got to stay close going into these final two corners, but that's a good line from Whiting into the final corner. Gets on the power nice and early, does the McLaren, and I don't think Chappers is going to be close enough as the camera darts somewhere else. But as we can see, it's not close enough. He's braked a little bit later to just put the scares on Simon Whiting in the breakers. Well, that wide moment for Chapman's not going to help him. Let's just push the gap out to a second. That's even wider this time at turn 5. Getting a little bit worried about the line that Chapman's taken. I know how hard he's pushing, but there will come a point where he pushes too much and he slides off the road. And considering, and we're talking long term here, of course, with the championship, it's still early days, but Chapman, he finished 9th last week at Silverstone. We're going off to another track next week, of course, for round 3. We'll have the success ballast. Is it worth pushing for that extra point? I mean, it's always worth pushing for that extra point, but is it worth pushing over the limit and ending up having a massive accident? I don't think it is. Not especially with this length of time left in the session. Of course, for those that don't know the calendar, we're off to Imola for round 3. Chapman just isn't close enough again as we move on to lap number 33. 2.5 minutes left of the race to go. You can see that Chapman just has a lot more confidence as we get towards the end of the stint. We saw this at the end of stint 1 when Simon was fighting off Tony Sokolov. We saw how the McLaren moves about and slides a little bit more with that setup, which just allows drivers to maybe put their note. Look how wide he is! I said how hard he's pushing, the Chappers. At what point? Oh, he has another slide through turn 6. At what point does he back off? Because that's a huge moment. Clamps the curb on the inside at 7. Doesn't want another moment like that. That was a lot of understeer in the AMR V8 then. And that could have ended up not being a 3rd place result. That could have been a lot worse. Sokolov, Whiting, Chapman. That's your top 3. Everybody else is just a little bit further away from one another. Jeffrey Van Buren, I did say, can he catch up to John Wells? He's done more than that. He's overtook him. So the M4 driver drops down to 13th, and Van Buren, well, I think he'll take 12th position considering how his race had gone. But Tony Sokolov is on his final lap of the race. This is it. This is the final lap of the race, and Chappers, unless he sends a Hail Mary into turn 1, I don't think he's going to get there. And no, sure enough, he's going to go for it. He's looking, but he's not quite close enough. I can understand why he tried. That was really his last opportunity, I think. Harding has caught up towards Zoutenbayer, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to have an overtake here. Everywhere else it looks a little bit more spread out. Chappers is trying his utmost to find a way through. But I think that's it now. I think he's just a bit too far away. Coming into the left and the right hander, there's really only 2 more corners after this that can cause a lot of grief. Up to the blind crest and into the heavy braking zone. The left-hander. That's all okay through there. But I am going to go up towards our race leader, who laps John Wells. He's had what can only be described as a fantabulous race. He might have lost the lead at the start, but his pole position effort was stunning. Took the lead back from Simon Whiting on 20 minutes in, and he's going to take a race victory here at Kyalami. It's a win for Tony Sokolov. He's got the race victory tonight. Simon Whiting, great defensive drive from him this evening to take second. Chapman ends up third in the end. Hartle-Toby is fourth. We'll have to wait a little bit though to get all the way back. In fifth place with Zoutenbayer, who is under pressure from Jordan Harding, but it's going to be fifth place for the reigning champion. Harding takes a very strong sixth. Phoenix Nitro, we didn't see what happened to him. He was in front of these guys, but he dropped to seventh in the end. Stuart Packen in eighth place. Might give him my drive of the day, considering he started in 21st. We'll have a look at the rest of the classified finishes. We've got Davy Zoutenbayer rounding the final corner. A little slide in the GTR as he exits the corner. That's ninth place for him. Dennis Penders, he puts in a really good recovery drive today from Dennis. Well done to you. The Belgian takes 10th. Mark Gray, what might have been, he's had some good speed tonight, but that incident has cost him dearly for a spot in the top 5, but still gets to the end of the race. He's going to be 11th. Just to talk about the other classified finishes, you've got John Wells a lap down, Fabio Watt, Rich Jarren, Ross Harris. We also have coming around the last couple of corners here, Nick Lamming, Liam Watkinson's seen the checkered flag, as has Daniel Hatton, as has Joe Warner's lawnmower, and then Jacob Byford-Root is there as well. Last car to cross the line, that is going to be Jeffrey Van Buren. I think he'll be happy to recover to 12th place as he cruises across the line. Well. That was an exciting race, and despite the technical difficulties of my own inability to go through spectator mode sometimes on Assetto Corsa Competizione, we have our finish results. Of course, they are provisional. We'll wait and see how the stewards' reports come out. There'll be a couple of incidents discussed, I'm sure. But right now, your top three are Tony Sokolov, Simon Whiting and Mark Chapman. Every single driver scores points, of course, in the championship. So they can all have a chat in the post-race Discord and talk about the issues that they came across and had. But the drivers will, of course, be heading off to Imola for round number 3. In terms of the broadcast schedule, because sadly I'm not able to commentate on every single race this season, I will be doing commentary for the 4th race of the season at Zolder. That's on the 8th of October, so that'll be live and streamed on this channel here. I will, of course, upload the race onto YouTube as well, so you can watch that hopefully later on tonight. If not tonight, then definitely tomorrow, and you can view that for your own viewing pleasure. But that has been a really great race tonight. I enjoyed commentating. It's great to be back for season 11. And we've got a fascinating championship battle brewing up. Of course, it's still very early days, but alas, it's going to be interesting. There's quite a few drivers, I think, who are capable of battling for the season 11 crown. But from me, Jack Millington, that is all of the commentary action for tonight. Thank you very much for watching, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one, and we'll see you for the next race here with ACC Race Nation.